Everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Guardian show by Joyeeta Basu. I am the editor of the Sunday Guardian weekly newspaper published from New Delhi. Today in my show, I have a very special guest, Professor B.R. Deepak, who is professor and chair at Center for Chinese and Southeast Asian Studies at the Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. He is an expert on anything and everything related to China. And today I'm going to ask him about his take on what happened at the recently concluded the National Congress that took place in Beijing, Chinese People's Congress that took place in Beijing. Professor, what is your overall assessment of what happened at this particular Congress?
I mean, there are a lot of takeaways from this Congress. One, perhaps, is Xi Jinping is now the people's leader, and as far as the economy, he is steering. I think direction is largely, heading towards people's economy, and perhaps international relations is going to be the continuation of wolf warrior diplomacy, and that could be gauged by the way of Wang Yi has been returned, and also the kind of people he has incorporated in the Central Military Commission. As far as India is concerned, I think it is going to be the competition continuum. I think that is my overall and maybe crisp take on what went on there. Of course, there are many episodes such as Hu Jintao's removal from the conference. Perhaps if you allow me, we can discuss it later.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. In fact, when you, if I can first talk to you about, ask you about these people, when you are saying the people, the kind of people he has incorporated, what sort of a message is he trying to send out, and what exactly does it signify?
That's also related to Hu Jintao's episode. We have seen the way he was, removed from the session where the voting to these resolutions was about to happen. That also in the presence of the press. It is an indication that the reform era, led by initially Deng Xiaoping and then his lieutenants like Jiang Zemin and his prodigy Hu Jintao. So that era is totally gone, and it is also in a way indicating the growth model which China projected during reform era. It is also gone. So new kind of leadership, which was quite a surprise. At least some of the names which have been incorporated in the Politburo and the Standing Committee, they're all Xi's people. In Chinese, it's called Xi Jiajun, his loyalists, in and out. And most of them, they are from where Xi Jinping has served in various capacities, to start with Fujian, and then Shanghai, and then party school, where he served for 5 years, and finally this Shanxi, Gansu, and Ningxia region. So if you see Fujian people, so they have filled in the Politburo, start from a Standing Committee, I would say, so right from this Ding Xuexiang, Li Qiang from Shanghai, Li Xi from Shanxi region. Now, of course, he's at present leading Guangdong. So all his people in place, and essentially, I think he's perhaps indicating that the party is party's control and prestige, it has been diluted during the reform era. And in fact, it has been also been mentioned and referred in the amendment of the Constitution that, of course, he doesn't name them, straight away, but he mentioned that it has been weakened. So that means the kind of control the party should be having So that was lost. So it is him and his people that they would be, restoring that prestige. And it has also been stated very, very clearly in his report, as well as in the constitution amendment of the party, that the line and banner, it is going to be Xi Jinping's co-leadership, as well as his thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for new era.
When you say that reform era is gone, isn't it also a fact that it was the reform era that brought economic prosperity to China? So why would Xi Jinping walk down a path where reform is kind of no longer it's happening? Why would he do that? And how is he doing that?
No, I'm not saying that reform would be totally out of the window. Not to say that. I'm primarily saying that era of laissez-faire growth in China, that is long over. And it's not only during this party congress we have seen the period is over, but also if we see ever since Xi Jinping took over the reins of the party in 2012, then on, so we see the Chinese growth has been slowing down, and the party, the state, bureaucracy has been riddled with corruption. So I think it is this, corruption is one part, perhaps, and who led this corruption? So they were non-priestlings. And generally, the party believes that people like Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, Tu Rongqi, Wen Jiabao. So these are bureaucrats or technocrats, people. So those were governing country at behest, perhaps, of the princelings, and which Xi Jinping and the likes, those who have revolutionary roots, they believe that it should be governed by them. And his emphasis in his report and also in the loan amendment that Jiangshan Pupian, so that the color of the country, it cannot be changed and will not be allowed. He will not allow anyone to change this color. So this is primarily referring to this, you can say, contradiction. This is one part. And the second, I think it is also because of the way he has been talking about unbalanced and unequal development, where the gap between the rich and the poor has widened greatly during all these years. Even if China has registered impressive growth, it is the second largest economy in the world. And Xi Jinping's emphasis on elevating poverty, absolute poverty in 2020, and then leading China to a moderately prosperous society in 2021. That was also, the year coinciding with centenary of establishing the Communist Party of China. So he believes that he is there for a mission, to eradicate that kind of inequality. And that's why all the talk about common prosperity, the dual circulation. So in fact, one of the circulations he's talking about, it is primarily external. So that means he would be open to foreign investment in China and wishes to improve and strengthen trade ties with that. But as far as internal circulation is concerned, so he is giving an indication that it is primarily going to be perhaps the state-owned enterprises, so those would be calling the shot, and the small and medium enterprises of the reform era, which was the backbone, for leading this transformation in China. I think that would be over. As statistics have revealed that there are over 446,000 state-owned enterprises. So they have been closed or amalgamated with other bigger conglomerates, and almost around 1.5 million small and medium enterprises have been closed down in China. So this shows where the China is heading under Xi Jinping. But having said that, I think he is going to meet bigger economic challenges. One, of course, is this dynamic COVID-0 policy has not been received very well by the people, and it is generally believed that more than 300 million they are under continuous lockdown under this policy. And the second is the kind of investment China used to make in the infrastructure sector, including real estate. So we have seen real estate bubble has busted. And the 45% of the GDP that used to go into infrastructure, and I think now the kind of return so which China expected from this kind of investment, it will not be there. So the economy, I think it is going to be on the slower side for a long time to come. And the third thing I would say is also, the kind of trade war, especially the high-tech war, which is going on between United States and China in the semiconductor sector. You must have seen the reports that recently, after bringing this chip act, Biden has also banned any American citizen or the green card holder, those who are assisting Chinese companies, especially the company, those who have employed American hardware or software in these companies. And finally, I think it is a weakening yuan also, depreciating yuan. It has already depreciated, say, 12% this year alone. And along with this, once the new leadership is announced, the Chinese stocks inside and outside their concept shares, equities, all over the world, especially in the United States, they're plummeted by over 33%. So it's not good news as far as economic indicators are concerned. So we'll just see whether China would be able to maintain a growth rate of 5 to 6%, which has been pronounced extremely important for reaching the centenary goals. So one is from 2020 to 35, when China would be a fully socialist, modernized society. And then the second phase of that from 35 to 2050, when China would be in the ranks of a fully developed country. So if these indicators are to be believed, perhaps this centenary goals, according to me, are going to be a little problematic.
So basically what you're saying is that, if China, the path of capitalism that China had adopted, which brought some kind of prosperity to it, once it abandons it and goes towards its, the Communist Party, socialist moorings and all, ironically, that's also going to impact that whatever goal that he has, and especially about when you're talking about moderately prosperous society, and then what the goals that he has for 2049. So I have a question here. Now, in such a situation, it's easier for democracies to tackle slowdown, because democracies offer the election process, which acts as a vent where people can let off their anger. Now, as China does not have any such vent, and as people's anger builds up, it is bound to build up. How does Xi Jinping and his people handle it in terms of, will he try to divert attention by maybe issues like nationalism, talking about, and how does it affect the countries bordering China militarily? Will there be any military misadventure, or how will how will Xi Jinping handle this? The discontent that is there in Chinese society.
I think there are two things. One is, he is prepared to handle this kind of discontent, and we have already seen the way the Chinese, Chinese state machinery, they are using this AI, to control the population, and the kind of you can say platforms so they have installed, for containing the COVID, and also to restrict the movement of the population, the so-called health code system. I think even if the pandemic goes away from China, these codes are not going to go away. So that is one way how they will control the popular, you can say, this content. And secondly, I think it is also in this context, if you read the report he produced, and also the kind of amendment they have done in the party constitution, they have been talking about security. Security has figured almost 50 times in the report, unprecedented. During reform era, no one was talking about security so much. Everything was focusing on economy as the center. That was the central task. And also, he's talking about these regional war. He's talking about these struggles. I think these three things, if we put in the perspective, so we get to know how Xi Jinping, is planning to handle discontent inside the country. And in security also, the political security has been listed or given top priority. And what is political security? It is primarily the security of the Communist Party of China. And by Communist Party of China, we mean the core leader. So that is Xi Jinping. So his security is topmost priority. And as far as China flaring up troubles in the bordering region or across the Taiwan Strait, I think the possibility remains very high. First, I'll touch upon Taiwan Strait issue, and then perhaps a little bit about India-China border. As far as Taiwan Strait is concerned, if you see the structure of the Central Military Commission, so that will strategize in case China decide to unify Taiwan by force. And after 20th Party Congress recently, he has met these people, and convened a meeting where he has emphasized that the centenary goal of the PLA, it should be taken very, very seriously. And all the people, they should be working, towards the fulfillment of that. The centenary goal, that is 100th anniversary of establishment of the PLA in 2027. But generally, it is believed that perhaps elections in Taiwan or elections in the United States, that would be an opportune time if at all Xi Jinping would like to, take on Taiwan. Now, if we see the composition, this is also an indication. There are two vice chairmen, in the Central Military Commission. One is Tang Yuexia, who is 72, surprisingly has been retained, primarily because of his connection with the Xi Jinping family, because Tang Yuexia's father and Xi Jinping's father, so they were, you can say, comrades in arms. And then he is also the one who has combat experience in 1979 Vietnam War. And second chairman of the military, vice chairman of the military commission, He Weitung. So he was in the Western Command also till 2019, and then he was transferred to the Eastern Theater Command. So Eastern Theater Command primarily looks into Taiwan issue, unification issue, and then two of the members, three of the members, one Miao Hua, so he is also from Fujian. In fact, He Weitung and Miao Hua, so they are both from Fujian. They know how to deal with the kind of affairs. In fact, in the wake of Nancy Pelosi's visit, He Weitung strategized the entire embargo and all the action which PLA did in the Strait. And the two other members, for example, this Li Shangfu, who has been, of course, sanctioned by the United States, he is perhaps going to be the next defense minister of China, and another Tang Shengming. So both of them, they are from the strategic forces or the rocket forces. So we can see the kind of composition and the kind of you can say across strait military operation would require the expertise of these people. So the possibility of conflict, I think in near future, that's why perhaps Xi Jinping say the next 5 years are going to very, very crucial, and they coincide with the centenary of the PLA. As far as India-China border is concerned, I think the situation as we have seen along the borders, it is perhaps going to continue. I mean, the kind of de-escalation which should have happened, it has not happened, even if, so we have resolved some of the differences on those friction points. But if we talk about the rest of the friction points, like Depsung, like Demchok and Chadeng Nala, so these also involve, huge territories. In fact, if you calculate the area, it amounts to almost, 2,000 square kilometers. So it is huge. And there is a possibility that China may, pin down India in other areas. And we have been talking about these so-called poverty alleviation villages coming up along the borders. I think it is meant to make the case of settled population in these areas. Perhaps in 2005, when we see the joint declaration between India and China in the wake of Wen Jiabao's visit, we have told them squarely that there is no question of, displacing the settled population in border areas. So I think as far as border situation is concerned, it is going to be very tense, or this is the new normal. Perhaps so we have to deal with the China, the kind of infrastructure they are building in Tibet. It is huge, whether it is railway, whether it is the road. So we need to be, perhaps be careful about their moves along the border.
Okay, we are almost reached the end of the program. Okay, the thing is, I have a quick question. This Hu Jintao episode, did it, was he actually removed or was he feeling unwell? That's the final question. And is, of course, she invincible right now inside Chinese Communist Party?
I think as far as Hu Jintao's this episode is concerned, there are a lot of versions. The Chinese official version put forth by Xinhua News Agency is that he was removed owing to his ill health and taken to a nearby room where he recuperated, and he's doing fine. So that is one of the versions. And second, many people across the world, they are also arguing that it was stage managed. But I think, it is slightly different because had it been the case, then he would not have stopped by Li Tanshu. Li Tanshu would not have stopped by Wang Huning, and including Xi Jinping when Hu Jintao reached out to those documents. He wanted to have a look. And inside the folder, naturally, it was, the members of the Central Committee and the Standing Committee, and which were to be voted in that session. So I think he knew that two of his lieutenants, say Li Keqiang and Wang Yang, so they were already not there. And perhaps Hu Chenghua, who was projected as to be the next prime minister by most of the analysts, including myself, so which of course I had also said that there are other possibilities. Then we see, all of a sudden the list of the Politburo, rather than having 25 members in it, you have noticed that there were only 24. So I believe perhaps his name was removed at the last juncture. wanting to indicate a message to the world that it is the arrival of Xi Jinping's new era with his men, and the era of reform, and perhaps this Tuanpai, or the League faction, it is over for good. That is my take on that.
Thank you. I think we have run out of time. Thank you for so much, Professor Deepak, for giving us this time, and thank you, viewers, for watching this. Until the next time.